you said in the beginning, right, that you do not deny the fact that evolution has evolved itself, the theory. Yeah. So when we look at science in general, I want to make a point that when you look at science in general, if you look at something which is in the background of science, or the philosophy of science, which is a very, very important part of science, because the philosophy of science actually sets the kind of framework of science. And when you have contributions like the one that has been made by Karl Popper and others, this actually sets the tone for scientific method. So, for example, the scientific method itself, you could say, has undergone a change. And the way we do science has undergone a change in the hundreds of years.
That's evolution as well.
Yeah. Right, so we're all agreeing here.
But that's no different to how religious you're always, if you believe in something, you're always going to preach and talk in a way that backs up that.
To be honest, my friend, I'm not talking about religion right now. I'm just talking about the theory of evolution and truth standards. Yeah? I can talk about religion later on if you want. Yeah, but we'll start with the theory of evolution. Because what we have just established, the two things we've established, yeah, which I feel are contradictory, if you don't mind what we're saying, yeah. The first thing we've said is that science is undergoing change, and we all agree to it. We have evidence of this, as Thomas Kuhn has mentioned in his book, The Paradigm Shift, that actually every once in a while, science undergoes an incredible paradigm shift, which actually not only changes science, but it changes the framework through which science operates. And an ample example of this is the Newtonian theory moving to Einsteinian theory from 1900s to 1905, to such an extent that people have thought that Newtonian theory was the be-all and end-all. But in 1905 and 1906, when Einstein came up with the special theory of relativity, the whole world of science, and physics in particular, was turned upside down on its head, basically. That's what I mean. So what I'm saying to you is, you just said to me that science is 99%, or the theory of evolution, in particular human evolution, you believe it to an extent of 99%. My question is, how can you be so sure of something which you have admitted is changing? That's my question to you. Okay.
What I saw. So actually, I didn't say the theory.
How about you? Are you still 99% sure?
The theory of our relationship to, as you call it, primitive species prior to that hasn't changed that much.
Okay, that's a point here. If you don't mind me coming back and offering you some interesting points, I say no, it has changed, and I'll give you the evidences. If you look at how evolution, the theory of evolution in general, how that is actually formalized, it's formalized usually using three different kinds of evidences. The first evidence is the fossil record. So it's a kind of archaeological evidence.
It's not in the the fossil record is irrelevant because...
No, they still use the fossil record. They use Lucy and they use other fossils that they have found and they excavated and they mention those fossils and they try and link them together. So the fossil record is one of the strongest
evidence.
They
use DNA as well.
Yeah.
It's DNA.
DNA, so an RNA, DNA and RNA, these are different things. So they look at how animals are basically formulated in the wombs of basically other animals in the genome.
It's a bit more complex than that, but yes,
but they look at this evidence, it's a genetic component. Number three, they also look at, there's another third one which I forgot actually. The point is,
it's material evidence.
I would say one of the major things that the evolutionists rely upon is the fossil record. Now, if you look at what has been discovered by the fossil record, you realize that there's a massive shift. So in other words, as you mentioned correctly, whenever they find a new fossil, basically, they re-render the theory. Basically the theory is reshuffled.
They question aspects of it. They don't reshuffle the entire theory. They question specific aspects.
If we look at the discipline biology, as in a broad way, we realize actually that there are people, there are biologists that basically, like Stephen Gould, who wrote an essay called The Punctuated Equilibrium. Punctuated Equilibrium, he reshuffled the whole theory completely. What he said, Gould, is that instead of basically what he said in his essay was a revolutionizing of neo-Darwinian evolution. What he said was, instead of like a slow gradual change of basically one species moving into another species, etc., what you find is that there is a sudden change, and he calls it punctuated equilibrium. That happens because basically of speciation or or something like a sudden shift, a climate change or something that happens. So in other words, his idea is that his idea of evolution is different to the standard neo-Darwinian evolutionary idea that's propounded by people like Richard Dawkins. So,
there is a stasis.
Yes.
Here is a change.
Yeah, so
Even Darwin said that.
yeah, okay, so what Gold is saying in punctuated equilibrium, it's not, it doesn't fit, it does not.
No, it does fit evolution. It just doesn't.
I'm not saying it doesn't fit. I'm not saying, let me be clear.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's a stasis.
What's your name?
Still evolution.
What's your name? Reese. Reese, what I want to be clear, yeah? I'm not saying that he's against evolution. I didn't say that. I said that his understanding of evolution does not follow the narrative set by the majority of neo-Darwinian evolution. And that's why there had been papers that had been published.
It's too simple.
Pardon?
It's too simple. Even Darwin had a more complicated version of evolution than that.
Yeah, well,
he was new. It can stay the same for long periods of time.
I'm not saying that.
But you're saying, yeah, that's what you're saying.
By the way, can I tell you something? Yeah? There's a difference between the theory of evolution as posited by Charles Darwin in The Origins of Species and the theory of evolution, which now has to take into consideration the new biological elements in microbiology. So basically, the transformation from Darwinian evolution to the post-1960s era is called neo-Darwinian. So now they've changed it to this. So what I'm saying is that the change from Darwin's theory, there's been already a change. So you've got one change from Darwin to the neo-Darwinian evolutionary basically model, which relies more on microbiology. And now I'm saying within this neo-Darwinian theory, you have different people now questioning the validity of neo-Darwinian evolutionary model.
It becomes more complete, more complex.
Yeah, exactly. Now here's the ultimate question. Here's my ultimate question. Yeah, I'm with you. By the way, I didn't disagree with you. I agree with you completely. What I'm going to say to you, this is my basically my ultimate question to you. If we know that the theory of evolution is changing, one, we can document the change in the theory of evolution. We can document the evolution, ironically, in the evolutionary theory. And we know that there have been rogue opinions or different opinions within the framework of neo-Darwinian evolution. And we know that the fossil record is a big part of the biologist coming to his conclusion. And we know that every once in a while, the fossil record, there's new information that is presented, which means that the neo-Darwinian evolutionary theory has to be reshuffled. If we know all of these things, my question is as follows, yeah? How do we not know, and this is my question, actually, let me make it a different question. Can we say that there will not be a series of evidences, yes, fossil records or otherwise, that will not discount what we know already of human evolution? Can we say that for sure, 100%? Can we not say that? So you agree with me, yeah?
Yeah, but that's why I said 99.9%.
Thank you very much. So this arbitrary number of 99.9% is, I'll tell you why it's arbitrary. Because the reason why it's up, can I tell you, sorry, and this is not to put you down, I know you're an intelligent person, and you're an intelligent person as well, and you're a third intelligent person. But the problem is this, is that when you are stuck in a sociological, snapshotted basically part of history, you have one idea of how science works. So, for example, if we rewind 600 years ago, geocentric, but if you look at the 600 years ago, the geocentric model was such, basically it was so embedded and entrenched in people's minds and hearts, they couldn't even imagine heliocentricity, yeah? So if you ask someone 600 years ago, what do you think of heliocentricity, and do you think that geocentricity is true, and that there's a chance of it being changed into a heliocentric kind of model by people, and that will be accepted, they'll say probably 99% no. Why? Because they can't conceptualize it. Just because someone can't conceptualize something.
What's the difference between, I can't say because you don't want to go to religion, but what's the difference between that and the doctrine of Islam being created 1600 years ago?
By the way,
what's to say that snapshot wasn't completely
No, what I'm saying is that, look, religion, put it to the side for now, this discussion about evolution.
No, it's not, because the theory of evolution, the theory of evolution you just said is the only thing that the Quran potentially doesn't agree with.
No, in terms of the scientific method, as far as my research has gone, I've looked at basically the exegetical works of basically I've looked at all of the Quranic ayat or the verses that reference science. Yeah, I've looked at them and I've looked at the exegetical works of all of those verses. And I looked and I can say something quite confidently that almost all of the theories that we believe in today, or basically most of the science that we know of today, does not even contradict, I'm not going to the Quran, but even what the old scholars said. So 1,350 years ago, what those scholars had said about, for example, the cosmos, there is always going to be something in that exegetical work which corresponds to today's reality. That with the exception of human evolution, which is why I'm taking an issue with human evolution, because I see there's no way of reconciling between human evolution and the Quranic narrative. So that's my honest assessment. If I said to you this, because if I was a flimsy individual that could just create parallels with everything, I would have said to you, look, the truth is, we don't have any problem with any science.
So what's the percentage that you believe that the theory of human evolution could be correct?
0%.
And now you need to tell me why.
No, I'll tell you why. The reason why is as follows.
I'd be impressed if you can.
I don't think it can be. That's the whole point of science.
No, look. From a science, if I was a non-religious person with no other epistemological and ontological thing informing my worldview, then I could say what you're saying. I could say, you know what?
But you could be religious and believe in evolution at the same time.
But let me just finish what I'm saying. I would be more liberal. I would say maybe about 50%. I'd be more agnostic about it, to be honest. If I was epistemologically,
we don't have definitive facts.
No, but I'm with you. If I was epistemologically and ontologically informed in a different way to Islam, I would be more agnostic about it, knowing what I know about the philosophy of science. But since I am epistemologically and ontologically informed by Islam, which is a religion which claims to be the ultimate truth from a God who is all-wise and all-knowing, and it's clear in the revelation which I believe has been sent down from God that human evolution is not true, basically. Then from that angle, from a probabilistic perspective, I think to myself, since he's saying this, then I have to agree with this. That's what I mean. So my epistemology is informed by the Quranic discourse.
Okay, so give us that information.
What information?
The part of the Quran that disproves human evolution.
So for example, there's many verses, chapter number 4, verse number 1. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. For example, that O humankind, fear God who has created you from one soul and created from it its partner. From one soul is implying a direct. So God created the first human being directly. That's the first verse. Another verse.
So wait, just to clarify, if you believe that, then I'm assuming that discounts all kind of natural history. Like when do you think humans entered?
We don't have a number for that. So we don't have a problem. We don't have a problem with saying, for example, the human being was, let's say, 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, whatever it is, years. I think there would be an upper limit. We couldn't say it's a million years old. We couldn't say.
So that's another part of
60,000 years ago.
Evolution that you discount, not just the theory of human evolution, but just like
in terms of Homo sapiens,
all animals.
Let me say, no. The other animals, to be honest with you, alright, from what I've seen, there's nothing in the Quran that basically, look, when it comes to speciation adaptation, we don't have a problem with it. In terms of evolution as a precept or as a concept, we don't have a problem with it. The problem we have with it is with human evolution. That's where it directly
contradicts. Because it discounts. It's against your
religion. That's it. Basically.
Creation.
So what you're saying is that essentially you could never have your mind change.
Can I please sum it up? I can see where there's a little bit of information that I know that will make you have a bit more understanding. It's very brief. It's very brief here. Islam only discredits the theory of the evolution of man, like we don't come from monkeys. But if an animal is put in an environment, if over millions of years the animal or the insect adapts to the environment, that we accept, but we don't say that a man was a single.
Why don't you view the movement from one species to another as credible? Because it discounts your man.
Because Allah created everything once. Like, understand? The first.
You can't back up your
That's what what he's saying.
Yeah, but we've got proof that humans evolved.
It has to be. You can't just say that's not right because it's written here that it's not right. Because that's not any kind of. That's just theory again. Just going back to theory.
What I've said to you here, let me just summarise my argument. Yeah? Point one, we all agree that science changes. Yeah? Point two, we said that evolution.
Science doesn't change. Science as a concept itself doesn't change.
Okay, no,
Science is used
as a means of expanding. Let me
Theories that science creates.
Right. So the theories that science creates, I'm with you. Fine. Now we're all on the same page again. Right? So then we even looked at the evolution. We looked at the theory of evolution. We have realised that has changed, no doubt. From Darwinian evolution to Darwinian. Then I asked the question: is it possible for us to say now, based on the empirical evidences that we have around us, yes, that the theory of evolution will always remain the same, and it will never be a stage where we will have evidences that will discount what we know today of human evolution? But we said no, we can't say that. Yeah, we said we can't say that. So okay, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2. Hold on.
Actually, sorry, I'm just going to say you could reach a stage where there is no further that you could go, but I don't believe we're anywhere near that now.
No, but hold on. That's your opinion. But in terms of
I said could.
No, but if we look at it from a science perspective, I want to make a point here, which is what David Hume said. It's called the problem of induction. You cannot, and we cannot, from the very fact that we can, from human nature, we cannot be exposed, or we cannot have access to all of basically the fossil records in this example. It's impossible for us to. We will never be able to have access to all of the fossil records. As a result of us not being able to have access to all of the fossil records, we cannot make definitive statements about the theory of evolution. All we can say is that our knowledge has led us to a certain point at this time, 2016. Do you agree with that? Okay. If you agree with that, so my point would be, pardon? You agree with that? Perfect. So what I'm saying is, since
it's proven by the fossils.
That's why it's evolution.
Let's say like
I'm not trying to disprove that.
It can be disproven by fossils.
No, but what I'm saying, I think you need to understand my argument. Come closer to us. My argument is not that I'm trying to disprove evolution or even human evolution. What my argument is you as a scientist that understands the philosophy of science, understands the workings of the philosophy of science, understands the fact that scientific facts themselves are subject to actual change, cannot claim that it's a certain truth. Do you understand? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, but evolution still sticks.
No, it's a disbelief.
Nothing's changed evolution.
Yeah, but you can't, because evolution is constantly evolving. So
Yeah, we know that, but it's not changing the state. Yeah, there's not changing the state of evolution. They still know the fish come first, then the amphibians, then the reptiles. That's not going to change.
We should be.
That's not going to change, my friend.
We don't
My point
find
is,
fossils to disprove
it is
evolution.
changing. So you can't.
No, it's not. No, that's the fish. The fish. Then there's no one on land. Then they come onto land. That's not going to change.
How do you know if it's a theory of evolution?
It's not a theory. There's facts backing it up, my friend.
It is a theory. Darwinism is a theory, but everyone knows.
Yeah, backed up with facts. Backed up with facts. What do you think Islam is?
What are you talking about?
Well, Islam's only a theory based up with no facts. There's more facts for evolution than there is for Allah.
Repeat what he said. Excuse me, my friend.
I think so.
Like what?
Yeah, sorry.
What he said was interesting. He said that because we have certain knowledge of the fossil record right now, it's a good reason to believe in evolution, human evolution. I say, you know what? You have a point. But I'll say this. Listen to me carefully, yeah? It's a good reason, it's an arbitrary, subjective value judgment that depends upon somebody to have a standard of truth to make it. So if I say, for example, I feel something is basically weighting down my pocket now, it's a good reason to believe that my phone is still in my pocket, or my keys.
They've dug up the facts.
That is my standard of truth. From a postmodern perspective, from a postmodern perspective, a postmodern perspective is basically more critical, more skeptical than this. So from a postmodern perspective, a postmodernist would argue that evolution is absolutely not true, and it cannot be proven absolutely. And in the same way, they'll say science in general is absolutely unprovable. So what I'm saying is that your standard of truth dictates what you believe in and what you don't believe in. So if you're saying that basically the fossil record thus far, which has shown that basically X amount of fossils have shown us that human evolution is possible, that this is a proof of human evolution. What what I'm going to say back to you is that that's your standard of truth. You're entitled to have that standard of truth.
No, but it's
you
still-
must
it's
realise
still an
that
effort.
standard of truth is based on your own subjective
But it's still an effort to come to the truth.
I'm with you.
Whereas if you accept a doctrine, like you just gave an example of why evolution doesn't exist, and that was a 2-line piece of text. Based on your,
I don't want you to strawman the argument, because what I said to you before was that in this discussion here, I am not attempting to put forward evidences to disprove human evolution. That's not my standpoint right now. What I said to you, no, but hold on.
But you claimed yourself that if human evolution could be
hold on.
could be proven true, then your religion is
Let me represent my.
That's not.
Let me represent my. Hold on.
Hold on. Not from monkey to man.
Yeah.
So tell me, why is the monkey to man bit so?
Hold on.
What's so crazy? What's so crazy about the idea that we were something and then over millions of years we became something else?
We have, but not monkeys.
Yeah, but we've got all the hominid skulls, mate. What about the hominid skulls?
Sorry.
Why are people born with tails and hairy? Hey, why are people born with tails and hairy? Sorry.
Look, what I'm saying to you, is that you're the one who's making the positive claim, yeah? I'm not making a positive claim.
About what?
You're saying human evolution exists. I'm not making.
You're saying it doesn't.
It's not been disproven.
It's just a stronger claim.
Okay, so you're an atheist. So it's just like saying this. Do you know when atheists make the argument that you're the one? Excuse me.
Don't label me.
Okay, so I'm sorry for labeling. But an atheist would say, okay, I don't believe that God exists, yeah? So you believe God exists, you have to provide the evidences. You see what I mean?
Yeah, that's quite easy.
Okay, all right. So we have to come forward and provide evidences. Now what I'm saying is that now you're making the positive claim. I'm not making the positive claim. You are. You're saying human evolution does exist. Therefore, it's upon you to prove to me that it's a certain unchangeable truth that is not subject to change. And what you said the truth is that actually it can change. So here we have a contradiction in terms.
It does exist in Islam.
Yeah, I'm not talking about human evolution.
Human evolution does exist in Islam, and I tell you why.
But okay, this is a different conversation. If you don't mind, we can have it later. Well, with the inter-Islamic discussion, I'll have
You're
that
talking
later.
about adaptation, right? Amongst.
Look, bro, I'll have the
Like
inter-Islamic.
Humans change, yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about adaptation within
Humans
species.
change, but we're talking about
From the
a primate
beast to the sea.
Okay, look.
No chance.
Yeah.
So that ain't gonna change.
Okay, fair. What he's trying to say is that from microbiological level, we don't even want to deny the fact that humans can speciate or can adapt. But what we're saying is what didn't happen is that upon the first human being that ever was on this planet, that was a result of a primate that came before and then evolved.
So hold on. If you go with that view, that means that every single fish in the sea started.
By the way, sorry, go ahead.
Started as that fish. That they've only ever changed within that species. So, for example, there was no, it didn't go from like it didn't go from cells and then mitochondria moving into cells and then adaptation. It could only be that something created that fish and then that fish got bigger, smaller, fatter, wider.
Listen, Will.
No teeth.
Really?
Listen, he didn't say, and I didn't say anything
that's
about.
my opinion.
No. Well, listen, we didn't.
No, that's the Quran.
Look at me. Will, look at me.
You just said that evolution across species can't.
No.
Like, you can't evolve.
Will, listen to me, man. Will,
No chance.
listen to me, yeah?
Based on text.
Basically, I said nothing about fish.
No, it doesn't matter.
No. Let's stick to what I'm saying because I don't want you to once again strawman the argument. I said nothing about fish today.
No, I know.
I didn't mention a hippopotamus or a rhino or a fish or, you know what I'm saying, or anything. Yeah, I just talk about specifically the idea of human evolution. That is because there is no doubt that human evolution is contradictory to Islam. For example, there's another hadith of the Prophet that the Prophet said that Adam was created directly on his image, in his own image. So this,
It's not enough. We have fossils, quite a good series of fossils of apes to man. They're actually pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good.
okay, you have
They
fossils.
shouldn't exist, according to Islam.
Okay, would you like me to answer? Excuse me,
Because they don't
bro,
exist now.
let me just answer his
Species
question.
don't exist.
I don't think that's right. You just have to make a point. Earlier on you said that we would never have full access to the fossil record. But even if we only have access to, say, the last 60% of it, it still means we can follow that genealogy back until we reach a point where we go, okay, beyond that point we're ignorant.
No.
However, we do.
That's not correct.
Why not?
But by the way, this is such an incorrect argument. I'm surprised that an intelligent man like yourself is making it.
I mean, we don't know each other. I could be stupid as anything.
No, but you're obviously speaking in an intelligent way, and your level of discourse is high. So obviously, when you make a point like that, it's quite surprising because it's something which is, I mean, you know the example of if you see 1,000 swans or 100 swans, all of them are white, it doesn't negate the fact that there's a black swan somewhere, yeah? So once again, you can say the same thing and apply the same logic here. Just because you see 30 or 40 or 50, and by the way, the fossil record doesn't have that many. It doesn't have that many. No, well, excuse me, it doesn't have that many fossils. It doesn't have that many fossils as it relates to this subject of human evolution. It doesn't have that many. It's insignificant amount comparative to the other fossils. And what I'm saying to you is that if you're going to make a value judgment based on the handful of fossils that you have, which are subject to change and you can find another fossil tomorrow, and you're saying that this, because we have these fossils, we can make this judgment, I feel that is a double standard approach, especially when you're saying that I can't believe in religion because it stops me from empiricizing things, from seeing things and being able to touch them and feel them.
I never said that the theory of human evolution discounts the idea of a different theory to how, say, this world or this universe came into place. I never said that. What I think it does do is it basically says, right, this is how much we understand after this much of work and effort. Whereas the other method is just saying, by the way, there's a book that tells us that this is how it all began. And just to make that leap, from this book says to this is the truth.
By the way,
that is a much bigger step than saying, well, we haven't got access to the last 40%
Can I tell you something?
record.
Can I ask you two direct questions? Yeah. Have you been exposed to the discourse or the evidence base which aims to prove, or a way in which Islam aims to prove itself? Have you been exposed to that at all?
No.
Alright, so you basically, he has, but you haven't. So I'm just speaking to you now. Basically, because you haven't, so what you're missing here is that the fact that Muslims do not just believe in their religion because the book says so. There is basically, the Quran and Islam by extension has a mechanism.
But you just said yourself that if you remove human evolution, then therefore the Quran the two can't work together.
What? Human evolution? Yeah, I've said that. But that's nothing to do with what I'm saying now. I'm saying that the Quran itself has a mechanism by which and through which it aims to prove itself. If you have a certain standard of truth, you can either accept this mechanism or accept the arguments that are proposed, or reject it, and that's part of free will and having your own ability to do whatever you want to do.
Absolutely.
So, I think the reason why I feel like you're basically a straw man of my opinion. You're straw manning my opinion is because what you're saying is it's different to believe in the theory of evolution, which has evidence base and records and fossil records, than to believe in religion, which doesn't have that. What I'm saying is, and this is not.
But only because you discount.
No, we can have this conversation. I can expose you to the arguments that I've made over and over again in school now. That Islam itself has a mechanism or has a way by which and through which it aims to prove itself. Do you understand? So I'll tell you later, right? We'll come to that. We'll put that as like a little, put in a footnote. Oh yeah, we'll come back to it. Because I want to finish off this discussion. What I want to say to you now, for someone that said 99, you said in the beginning of this discussion that you believe in the theory of human evolution to a degree of 99.9%. You left the 0.1% there, maybe because of the things that we talked about before. But
Because it's open to change.
So I want to ask you a direct question. Is it possible for you to claim that the theory, based on the fact that because of the problem of induction, because of the fact that you can't have all of the access to all of the fossil records, because of the fact that you cannot obtain this, it's an impossible thing to obtain, and because of the fact we know that science is changing like paradigm shift. Based on these two realities, can you say that the theory of evolution is an absolute certain truth? Human evolution. See, that's
basically what you're doing is you're creating a question which is almost impossible for me to ask because you're in a win-win situation where you basically
But
yeah.
Just be open and answer it.
No.
You don't want to say no because it's going to give him.
just
It's not
leave
about
him-
winning.
I said no earlier.
So you can't.
I would say
You can't say that evolution is a certain truth.
I would say the understanding of human evolution is, I think, pretty concrete, but is open to change.
Thank you very, very much. I will actually conclude with that because what I feel is happening, and I'll say to you this, yeah, everyone here, I want the atheists in particular, or agnostics, or people from a non-Islamic viewpoint, to basically know something, yeah? Let me address this directly, yeah? Looking at the cameras. I want you guys to know something. Science is meant to be something that is meant to humble you. Because science is a way to try and understand the natural environment around you. Science is not something you're meant to be completely certain about, because science, by the scientific method in and of itself, doesn't attempt to actually bring philosophical certainty to a human being. It attempts to bring theories which you can run by for the present time and present moment. But science in general, unfortunately, it doesn't give you the grounding, it doesn't give you the ability to say that actually what we have today is true. And when you look at, and by the way, Thomas Kuhn is an interesting person who wrote about this in a book called Paradigm Shift. When you look at the history of the world, this becomes patently clear. If you look at the shift, as we said, from Newtonian physics to Einsteinian physics as an example, from the geocentric model to the heliocentric model as a secondary example, from the static state theory to the Big Bang as a third example. These are actual examples where people were so sure, as sure as Will is today, that those models, i.e. geocentricity, the static state, and what's the other one that I mentioned? The other one that I mentioned.
Einstein theory.
The Newtonian theory of relativity, that these were actual truths, absolute truths, that you cannot change. What I'm saying to you is that that's not what science says, it's not what science can prove, therefore be humble about science. For the atheist now, evolution has become his main bullet, his main ammunition. It's an unfortunate reality that your main thing that you're trying to prove as an atheist is something which is not a certain truth, according to the philosophy of science.
Referring to?
And
we're not talking.
I'm not talking to you. Agnost and atheists, or let's just say atheists in particular, apply a secondary double standard. Do you know what that is? They say that as theists, we have to provide evidences that satisfy a certain value truth standard. We have to put forward evidences that satisfy a certain truth standard to prove God. However, what they have been able not to provide is the same kind of evidences for evolution, or human evolution in particular. Therefore, there is a double standard in the way they're applying their logic.
But I think this goes back to our conversation earlier about the fact that whether or not you could prove human evolution, it still doesn't then, like, let's say that they prove that human evolution as we understand it today was completely wrong. That still doesn't give any evidence towards a religion. All it does is disprove our scientific theory.
I do agree with you.
So what's the... I don't know what you're trying to prove by saying that our theory... If our theory is incorrect, we'll just get...
But there is proof of evolution as well.
We don't have...
No, we have Neanderthals that came before humans. So what do you say about the Neanderthals then?
We talked about the fact that the Neanderthal man, which was discovered in 1973, or whatever it was discovered in, that was something which was discovered, right? And then you had another fossil which was discovered later on.
And we've done DNA that matches us with them.
Hold on.
What about that?
I'm answering it. Either way, you're saying we're 99% is similar to apes. We're 49% similar to chickens. These things have...
Yeah, and 8% to fish. And 8% to fish.
Okay, so the point is, do we look
Because it all goes back.
Do we look like a chicken? I mean, do we look 50% similar to a chicken? I mean, the point is really...
That's not how evolution works. You just discredited the entire idea of evolution by saying that if a chicken's 50% us, we should have one wing and a tail, you know, or like, you know, a cockerel thing. That isn't how evolution works.
Okay, fine. Well, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying...
You can't belittle something to make
it
fine. I'm just saying...
We also got the hominid
using
skulls.
Percentages, strategically, it doesn't help your argument.
If you remove
so that's what my
2% of DNA from a human, we would be drastically...
Because you can use percentages strategically, yeah, to make an argument, like they do in America when they talk about, you know, the black people being unemployed and this kind of thing, and when really you think about black people are X, Y, Z. Sociologically, if you look at the statistics like for like, you realize there's something fishy about the statistic. For example, was Thomas Sowell, one of the black academics in America. He looked at, they were talking about black people not being employed, in America, and they said that if you look at it, black people are X amount time more likely not to be employed. When you look at it for like, so the black person now has got a parent who goes to university, and the white person has got a parent who goes to university, the black person is more likely to have an education or to have a good education than the white person, or it's a very similar amount. So in other words, statistics and numbers can be manipulated by individuals. This individual, so I'm not saying that you've done that. I'm saying that some individuals do manipulate this whole thing about 99% of, we're 99% similar to apes. What I'm saying is that I can say that we're 49% similar to chickens. It doesn't actually have any meaning. Unless you are able to...
It means we're all connected.
It does.
That's what it means. It means we're all connected.
By the way, it doesn't necessitate that. Logically, it doesn't, just because you're similar to something, it doesn't mean that you've been... Just because you're similar to something, it doesn't necessarily follow that you're an extension of it. You're a part of the evolution.
Could be common ancestors,
It doesn't actually follow. By the way, there's a leap of faith.
Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is
everything
that
was created at the same time in kind of the same way, like from the same material.
What I'm saying for sure, no doubt, is that we believe as Muslims that that's true of human beings. And by the way, there's a logical component to this. And I'm not making the case for, basically, I'm not trying to, once again, I'm not trying to disprove necessarily human evolution. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you...
It's proved in Islam though, you know that, right?
Pardon?
It's in Islam, human evolution.
Yeah, no, I'm talking, he talks about speciation, adaptation is fine, but not the fact that
no, you come from one species to another, yes.
Yeah. So the point is, what I wanted to say to you was that as it relates to human evolution now, if we talk about what we believe that the human being, the Quran says, we have certainly dignified the child of Adam. The human being is, in many, many ways, completely different from the rest of the animal kingdom. We believe that's true from a philosophical perspective, from a moral
philosophy.
Can I just finish
your philosophy is...
If you don't mind me just...
We reason, that's it. We reason, animals don't.
I'm just finishing what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that human beings are able
animals
to...
don't reason.
They do, they reason and they love, they care. They do all that.
I didn't say I don't care.
No, they care.
But let me just finish what I'm saying.
Can you reason with an animal?
Not me, no, but another animal could with it, another monkey can with it. They share food, mate, that's reason. Yeah, but monkeys share food with each other. They comb each other's hair.
You need to slow down.
No, you said they got no reasoning.
I mean, we don't reason.
Oh, we? Alright, not animals then, not animals.
I said, what I meant
You said animals don't reason, they do.
You know what, I'll explain my comment. What I meant was, people don't reason with animals.
Oh, that's fair enough. No, okay, yeah. Right, you didn't say that.
Slow down.
You didn't say that at the beginning.
Slow down a bit, mate, that's all.
That human beings have differences. I mean, no one's going to refute me here. Human beings have civilizations. Animals don't have civilizations. Refute me.
They have territories.
Hold on.
They have territories.
That is only based on the theory that you think that every animal is trying to evolve to become a human.
No, I'm not going to say that. I didn't say that.
Because you're saying that the height of evolution is human civilization. That's not true.
By the way,
a wasp is as evolved as a human, but it's just evolved in a different way.
Hold on.
Yeah. So
excuse me, do you mind if
the fact that we have a civilization is just a byproduct of evolution.
They have communities like we have communities.
You stopped me in the middle of what I was saying. Because what I was saying was that human beings have civilization. Animals don't have civilization.
Not true.
Human beings have a high level of intelligence than every other animal. That's point two. Human beings have an ability to make conscientious moral decisions that affect them and the animal kingdom.
So do animals.
Okay, that's your opinion.
Which animal?
No, they don't.
Which animal?
What? Animals don't make decisions based on what's best for
Of course
them.
they do, yeah.
Which animal?
Well, hang on.
The monkeys have an alpha.
Hang on a minute. What you said's right, but he finished by saying the human being's decision affects the animals. But and it is mostly going to close that by saying the animals' decisions don't affect us.
Yeah, it used to before, but not now. We're in control. Yeah, we're in control now. That's why.
Yeah. So the point is, my friend, is that there is no doubt that there are clear distinctions between human beings.
But that is a byproduct. That isn't a reason
if you don't mind
for our
me,
creation.
If you don't mind me asking, just finishing off what I was saying.
And we're very similar.
Actually, I will say something else. There are clear distinctions between the human being and the rest of the animal kingdom. Not only are these distinctions pronounced and clear for everyone to see and experience, but there are also distinctions which mean, and listen to this carefully, which mean really that it becomes very, very difficult for someone who's an evolutionist to contend, by the way, that humans needed all of this. Wait a minute, what do I mean here? The theory of evolution contends that the things that we develop or evolve are the things which are required for the survival of the human being. I'm asking a question. Why do we, all of the things I've just mentioned, the majority of them, they are not contingent. You don't need them for survival. You don't. You do not need morality for survival. You can be the biggest immoral person.
Hang on a minute.
But that's just...
You don't need to be a moral person.
Hang on. Even if you live alone, if you're in a community, in a society, and you carry out certain immoral actions, depending on the view of that society, you'll get yourself killed, mate.
Not necessarily.
Yes. Not necessarily.
Hang
a minute.
There are plenty of immoral people who live full life.
Yeah, listen. I'll say it again. If you live an immoral life within a community that has set up their own morals, you can end up getting yourself killed.
Excuse me.
So you mean by yourself or within a community?
You won't necessarily.
The idea that I'm going to be good to my parents, that I'm not going to do certain bad things.
That you will be killed.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're on the same page.
You will.
The point is,
In Saudi Arabia, you will be.
Everyone who does something immoral dies.
you don't need morality for survival.
There are certain moral acts, if you do, that affect the community. Because of the community's morality, you could get yourself killed. Yes or no? We know that.
My friend, we're talking about the biological perspective. From a purely scientific perspective, you do not need morality, in order to survive. Now,
By yourself.
You agree with that?
No, agree.
Yeah. You don't need it. You don't need a lot of the things that we have the ability to make poetry. How's that going to help you survive? It doesn't help you survive. You don't need any of those things in order the ability to write a play, the ability to think about philosophy deeply, the ability to think about what we're thinking about right now. These are the intellectual things that we have as human beings. We don't need them in order to survive. The point really is
fitness, maybe.
Yeah, fitness. That kind of. The point is then, so why do they exist in us? Do you see what I mean? So here we have a clear distinction between the human being and the rest of the animal kingdom. Such a clear distinction that it almost requires
Not if you count ourselves as animals. Well, if we are just an animal, like a more evolved version of the animals,
We're from the animal kingdom.
Our brains are only capable of doing.
That's the point. That's what animals are.
We're not animals.
Like I said.
Why do you give yourself so much credit?
No, because I'm not giving myself credit. I'm saying people can reason with people. Animals have their way. You can't reason with an animal. That puts you here because man can reason. We can, like now we're reasoning. Animals, you don't get different types of animals sitting around reasoning. That's what puts you.
But that means that you're just putting all animals on a level playing field of like where their brain capacity is at that point.
Because you can see it, evidently. You don't see bears sitting down getting reasoning with monkeys.
I'm going to tag you in, my friend.
Or lions reasoning with tigers.
That's actually not true. There are ecosystems that...
Such as what?
The theories on evolution haven't changed though, Mo. They still say fish, and then amphibians, then dinosaurs, then humans. That has not changed.
Affect the actions of it, but they don't reason.
No, we know the meaning of it has, but the facts of it haven't.
Know if they kill, for example...
the fish, there was no one on the land, and then the fish came on the land. That's Tiktaalik came on the land.
Has changed. Darwinian evolution to Darwinian.
Yeah, we know that, but I'm saying evolution still
Does he
sticks
go
though.
reason with it? Does he go to reason? No, but the blood reason, like we're reason now.
No, you can't hear their language.
The reasoning is their reasoning of saying, I'm not going to... It's not that they go up and converse with it. You're talking about... That's just brain capacity.